Hey guys, so working on the truck a little bit today. It's a Saturday. I didn't get much done on it this week. I've been feeling just fantastic. I had the flu or something. I did get a little bit of stuff done, but I didn't film it just because I was kind of picking away at it a little. So I did get the front cover on, adjustable timing gear. We set up the timing. If you guys want, I do have videos on that if you want to see it. So just let you know, I do have videos. If you go into the rebuilding 12 valve rebuilding playlist, there's all of those videos in there for that. I don't know, yeah, I guess I put the injection pump in. So that the injection pump that was on it is that one right there, which I don't know if you guys can, oh yeah, you can see it. That injection pump right there, which is a 215 Max and Balance by Seth Farrell. This one is a 180 horse that I had. It is not max and balance, but it was a rebuilt injection pump, and that'll be fine for what we're doing with this. But I have not put, the reason I don't have the AFC back on yet is I need to modify the AFC, which I have videos on as well. I'm going to put govern springs in it. That's what I'm going to do right now. We're going to do, I got to get the flywheel on, so I'm going to do the flywheel. I'm going to do the govern springs and modify the AFC. And I'll probably call, oh, and I have a Steed manifold to put on. So we're gonna do that, just a standard Steed manifold for it. So I got the bolts blasted up for the flywheel. So we're gonna do the flywheel first. Actually, I'll probably put the water pump on because tomorrow, I don't usually come in on Sundays, but I'm probably gonna come in tomorrow and get the engine set in the hole. And then do a little bit more stuff to it. Like I said, I'm probably not going to get to the point where it's running. Well, I know that because I'm waiting for a different turbo. We're putting different compounds. Try a different setup. The K27 in that setup worked okay. Just wasn't what I wanted. So if that's what you wanted, if you just wanted a 350 horsepower truck with a small set of compounds on it, that setup I had on there was good. And now if this truck had 354 gears in it versus the 410, that setup would have been even better because I'm in a higher RPM range in this truck with a 410, which does make a difference because you run out of air in RPM. So I was running out of air too soon to suit me when I was towing and stuff. So we are going to do a different setup, and yeah, anyways, we'll go from there. So I'm going to throw you guys into a time lapse. We're going to do the flywheel, the govern springs. I do have a video on this if you guys do want to see a video. We're going to do the govern springs, and if you want to come along for the ride, here we are. Hey guys, appreciate you watching the channel. If you can like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll let you get back to the video. All right guys, change her up a bit. I'm going to do voiceover on part of this video anyway. So just putting Loctite on bolts for that, and I always put the Loctite on a little tiny bit in the hole and then a little on the bolt, and just using blue Loctite. I'm cleaning up this rear surface because I am putting the coolant bypass back on this engine. It didn't have it the last time, but just make sure if you are cutting one of those coolant bypasses, make sure you clean the bolt holes out and make sure the bolts go in deep enough. I've had that problem before, and they leak if you don't do that. So, and then obviously you got to pull that rear frost plug out. And for some reason, I was on the old struggle bus that day because I wasn't feeling good. Usually these aren't that hard to get out, but for some reason, I'm not sure why I was having a hard time with it, but it just wasn't working out for me. So I got it out of there anyway. But usually what you do is just pop it out. You kind of turn it sideways, but I got it. It fell in on me. So, anyways. Not a big deal. Make sure you do clean that out a little bit with some sandpaper before you put it on. And then I'm just putting a little bit of anaerobic sealant on the back. You don't have to do this. I just find that makes me feel better. So I do it. There again, don't have to put Loctite on the bolts, but I put Loctite on the bolts. One thing to mention, make sure you check the bolts on the coolant bypasses because I have had one leak and the bolt wasn't quite tight enough. So just thought I'd mention that. Changing the govern springs on this thing, going to a 4K govern spring kit. Something that I did find, and I should have taken a picture of it, but I just wasn't happy that I was having to screw around with it, is that the stud that holds the govern springs in there was actually tweaked a little bit, and I've never seen that in all the ones that I've ever done. I've never seen that. So if yours is like that, I bent it back. It was just tweaked a little bit so you couldn't get the spring out, or the basically that top plate off. But I just recommend, if that's the case, if it's tweaked, you really should take the pump off and have the pump serviced. I didn't, obviously, but I would recommend that to you guys if you are. Now, this is actually today, which would be yesterday for you guys, putting the engine back in the hole again. And I just literally wanted to get it sitting in there so that I can pick away at it, which will be today when you guys are seeing this. But I wanted to get it sitting in there, and Jason was still kicking around the shop doing a couple things, so I figured I'll do that when I can get him to give me a hand. But literally, we just set it in there. We put 2 bolts on the bell housing, and I bolted the motor mounts all up. And one thing you do want to do, make sure you do, is make sure your holes for your motor mounts are clean. And I do recommend cleaning the bolts. I clean most of the bolts anyway, but clean the bolts, the wire wheel, and Loctite. Especially your engine mount bolts, because if you don't, they tend to come loose. So just blue Loctite, don't have to get super carried away. And it doesn't even have to be Loctite brand, obviously. I use whatever happens to be on sale at that given time. But it is what it is. Something, I always pull the motor mounts. I know some guys don't. I always pull the engine mounts off of the blocks. And then you don't have to try to fight them in and out of there. Some guys don't do that, and then they end up mangling the cowling and stuff. But, you know, I've had the engine out of this truck, man, I don't even know, so many times over the years, putting different engines in it, changing this, trying that. I've cracked heads, I've burnt up cylinders, I've all kinds of different stuff. Just this thing has kind of been the test mule and abuse taker of.
All right, guys. So we got the engine back in the hole again. Just thought I'd do a quick rundown. This will be the end of this video. I'm going to do a quick rundown of what is done to this engine and what we're doing to this engine. So I rebuilt this engine. It's got about 3,500 miles, 5,000 kilometers-ish on it. So this was the engine that was in the truck before we put the stock engine back in. And for you guys that are wondering why I sold it, was I got offered more money than I thought it was worth, and I would rather have a fresh engine in the truck than an engine that has a couple 100,000 kilometers on, especially being that we're going to do a bunch of towing with this next year. I just would rather have a new engine. Probably this winter, we'll see. I might pull the tranny out and refresh the tranny too, but we'll see. I want to rebody the truck, so anyways, I won't get into that. So this engine has a Molly Motorsports piston in it, but a small bore, or a small bowl in it. It has a better rod. It has a Marine 12-valve rod, which they made them for a few years, and then they just kept using. It's technically a forged rod, but I don't know if they're any better or not. They were just something I got, so I figured I'll use them on one of my engines. Not that they're anything special, and like I said, you can't even buy them anymore, so it's not really anything to talk about. The cylinder head has conical springs on it from Manton. It does have a little bit of porting done to it. Nothing crazy, just bowl cleanup, port match on the exhaust. Nothing crazy. The stage 2 cam, which you guys seen me put in. This is a 180 horse pump, not max and balance, but it has been rebuilt. We put 4,000 K springs in it, so it'll run 4,000 K or 4,000 RPM. It just does have a stock lift pump on it. I think I'm going to upgrade the fuel filter that was on there, because with this Banks thing, with the Banks intake, you have to have a spacer to run it, and I don't know where to spacer. I probably threw it away. I've never had a stock filter on one of these, or on this engine, I should say. And other than that, though, it has, right now, it has an 8x10 injector in it, which is probably bigger injector than it should have in it, but being they're in there, I'm just going to leave them in there for now. And we're running like 18 degrees timing, I think is what I have it set at, so nothing crazy. And then the steam manifold, obviously. And then for compounds, I'm going to take the K27 out. I want to go with a little bit bigger turbocharger, so we're going to do a 62, 65, 12 centimeter housing turbocharger from Smeding on there with the S476. So we're going to keep basically the compound kit the way it was, we're just going to take the K27 out and put the other turbocharger in there. So we're going to have to redo the hot pipe. So nothing super crazy, and that turbo was ordered. Hopefully I'll have it next week sometime. So if we get it next week sometime, I can start putting that in, but we're going to start putting the rest of the truck back together. We will be using the water method, so I have to drill some holes in the intake horn for that. And I am going to put my oil bypass kit back on for this engine now that this engine is broken. I don't usually put them on until the engine's broken, but the engine is broken enough to put it on there. So we're going to replumb that as well. So I'll talk about plumbing that when I do that. I'll do a little video. I actually was trying to do the video tonight, but I can't find the oil bypass that was on this truck. It's here somewhere. I just don't know where it is. But anyways, so we're going to put the oil bypass on there, and we have the coolant bypass. So I have a fleece coolant bypass on there, which has a 180-degree thermostat in it. So at 180 degrees, it'll just start circulating coolant from the back of the block. These things have lots of coolant flow, so it doesn't really matter. It's not like you're starving. Lots of people say, oh, you're starving coolant from the head. And the amount of coolant these water pumps flow, you ain't starving nothing. So other than maybe your brain. But anyways, we won't get into that. I'm a little crusty today. But, and I am going to be running a fuel plate. I think actually to start with, I'm going to run a stock fuel plate, slid all the way forwards, just to see how it works. And then also at some point, we'll bring the truck back in here, and I'm going to put my version of the AFC Live, which is just an AFC control, which is actually originally I was shown by a guy, Mac, in the 70s, I think it was, 60s or 70s, actually used an AFC control, an adjustable AFC control. So that's not a new thing. Some people think it is, but it's not a new thing. Anyways. That's going to be it for this video, I think, but I just wanted to give a quick rundown. I am going to talk about the coolant bypass. I have another one, so I'm going to do a quick video about that. And then I am going to do a video about the bypass and all that stuff. So just let you know that those videos are coming. They'll probably be coming this week, actually, because we'll be waiting for that turbocharger. And then I'll talk a little bit about the turbocharger when we get it as well, for any of you guys that are interested in seeing. I am actually, hopefully, I'd like to I've talked to one of the sales guy, Ricky, over at Smeding about it, maybe setting up something to help you guys out with them, but we'll see if that pans out or not. So he wasn't sure. He said he had never dealt with that before. He said that was the boss man that had done it. So I'm going to see about maybe talking to them about that and see if we can get something on the go for you guys as well. So like, subscribe, put me down in the comments, and remember, it's not rocket science.